My name is Dave Horton. I work for Nest Lake Bible Camp, and that is my connection to and to the Hubbles. Is Linda dragged the girls kicking and screaming out to camp, and we had a great time with them. And I am, I'm honored to be here. But we want to first just to say a big thanks to those who've come from far away to attend. I know it means a lot to the family, especially to Paul and to his mother for making the trip up. Really appreciate that for sure. Thanks to College Heights Baptist Church for hosting this today, for Pastor Curtis and sitting with the family and kind of help working them through some of the grief, for Michelle and Kira and Connie and Hannah as well for playing piano. Really appreciate the work that you guys did in the lobby and just making this all come together. I am honored to be here. I'm honored to have known Rihanna and to have been a part of a life that was just too short. We all carry this honor. All of us in this room, we all carry the honor of knowing Rihanna. To have shared time with someone who is so strong, so chatty, so caring, so compassionate, so full of vigor and often vinegar. If you ask Faith, I'm sure that would come lots of stories there. Ree was an ambassador about her disabilities. She wanted others to know more so that those who suffer have to suffer less. Her family is giving us the opportunity to take on that mission by putting some information in the back and then the tables in the foyer and then downstairs as well. And that information about spina bifida and hydrocephalus association at the back. Throughout the service, we're going to hear from those who knew Ree well. It's going to be hard. We're going to share in their stories, their perspectives of the girl that we loved. And talking with the family this week, as well as my time with Ree, it's clear to me that though she was confined to a wheelchair and to the brokenness of her body, she never wanted pity. It's never something I saw her seek out. Ree wanted friendship. And your attendance here today is a great comfort to their family, knowing that that is what she had. And I don't know if the family is able to look behind, though completely breaking apart, but there is a lot of people here. And this is the impact of your parenting on Ree, and this is the impact of Ree's life, in her school, and her friendships. I should have warned the family that I'm a crier. It hurts. It hurts to have her gone. She is home now. She is free now, and her life was not easy. It was lonely. It was hard to be different, and a struggle to deal with the limitations of her health and her own body. Rihanna is home. She is free and without pain. Free from her body and her chair. In Revelation 21, it's the last book of the Bible, the Apostle John writes of this new home that will one day be ours, a place that the Good Shepherd is preparing for all of his sheep. John wrote that in a heavenly vision, he saw a spectacular city and heard a loud voice, God's voice, coming from the throne saying, "Behold, the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." I really think that Ree has traded up in terms of bodies. The family asked me to read this poem as well. It's by Jay Morris. Life isn't always easy sitting in a wheelchair. Sometimes I get discouraged and loaded down with care. That's when I lean on Jesus to help me through the day, for he gives me peace and comfort when trials come my way. The Bible says there is a place that someday I will see where there will be no sickness or pain to bother me. I will walk upon a street of gold. Glorious beauty I will share in a place called heaven where I'll need no wheelchair. So I encourage you to find strength today in Christ, that you would allow him to comfort you, that you would allow him to fill your life with peace, with hope, with forgiveness, with purpose, and even through the pain, that he would fill your life with joy. My prayer for each of you is that you would make him the shepherd of your lives and find yourselves looking forward to this new home. Let me pray. Father, I just thank you for Ree's life and impact, for seeing all the individuals here and knowing how much she was loved. Just pray that you would give comfort to Ree's family in a time where there is so much loss and such a void. Father, help us to see past our own individual needs and see how we can better serve the family tomorrow, the next year, and a life to come, how we can stand beside them. But Lord, we just ask for comfort, that you are the one who can work on the heart. God, just soothe that pain, that loss. Amen. Ree's family and friends have a wonderful service planned, and we're so thankful for you guys being able to be here. We're going to start by listening to some of her friends give a eulogy. We have some videos, some slideshows, and then some of her family as well. Right now, I'd like to invite up Justine, who's been a friend since kindergarten. Justine, you can come on up here.
Bree was a pretty amazing person. She was loving, she was caring, she had a bright smile. Every time she smiled, you just saw the happiness like coming right out of her. You felt it too. You felt her happiness. You felt her love, and it's an amazing thing. Ree had a very special gift, and she brightened everybody's life. That she had had an impact on everyone's life. Rihanna was a sister to me. She was more than a friend. My favorite memory of the two of us is when we were about 6 or 7 years old, and we always hung out together. We were racing around her house, and I was in her little chair for her computer, and she was in her chair, and I was so jealous of all her cool stuff. She was so lucky in my eyes. She was the coolest kid ever. No matter how bad of a day I have, Ree was always there for me. One time we were talking on Facebook, and I was talking about a fight I had with one of my parents, and Ree told me, "I hope you don't mind that my mom told you about this. I hope you're not mad at me." And I said, "Rihanna, I don't care. I'm happy, you know." And she said, "It's probably because we're BFFs, because we've known each other for so long, right?" And it's true. She was my best friend forever, and she still is, and I love her so much. She always wanted to be a part of my life, and she always made the effort to say hello or ask how my day was going, and I wish I spent more time with her. One day she told me I could cry on her shoulder anytime I needed to, and right now I really need to. I need to hold her and hug her and cry on her shoulder. She just made everybody feel so much better. Last time Ree messaged me on Facebook was June 3rd, and I was too busy to answer her. And she really taught me that I will never be too busy for anybody that I love ever again. I will always put in the time, because you never know when they're not going to be there anymore. And you never know when you can't talk to them anymore. You just never ever know. And so many times did Ree help me with my issues. So many times was she the one comforting me when her life was so lonely because nobody gave her the time. Don't do that to anybody in your life. Don't ever take them for granted. Rihanna and I should have shared so many more moments together, but she will always keep a big and very special place in my heart forever. I'll never forget my best friend. Rihanna's lifelong friend Chloe is going to come up and say a couple of things for her now. Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chloe. I've been a lifelong friend of Ree's since we were babies. We were involved in so many things together, such as riding, baseball, bocce, guides, and my personal favorite, summer camp. As you can see, Rihanna was a big part of my life, so we were prone to disagreeing. But we always knew that if we needed to lean on each other, we could lean on each other if needed. It also made accepting the news of her passing more difficult. My mom and me decided to write down some memories we had of Ree. Ree loved to cuddle on the couch when we were smaller. When we had sleepovers, she would read Captain Underpants to me until I fell asleep. Of course, we had to get our facials done by Linda first. At one of my last sleepovers at Rihanna's, we dressed up with our underclothes over top of our tops and shirts, which was bad enough. Then we had to go up and down the street like that. Ree and Faith loved pets, especially weird ones, such as frogs, rats, lizards, and hairless cats. One time she put one of her rats in my hoodie and giggled when I freaked at the shiver going down my spine. I will never forget her laugh. Ree was moody. If she was in one, you would know by the look she would give you and the hint she would give you. But also knew you also knew when she was happy, and I will never forget her bear hugs. I got a big one that day she came back from Vancouver. If I only knew that was going to be our last one, Ree, I would have held on just a little bit longer. There is no doubt in my mind that Rihanna is running, jumping, and doing all the things her legs wouldn't allow her to do here on earth. I am I am sure she is missing us as we do her, but I'm guessing she's wishing she had her phone as you, as you never saw her without it. When we meet again, Rihanna Banana, as my dad liked to call her, let's go for an extremely long run.
Connie Paradosky was a piano teacher and a good friend to the Hubble girls, and still is a good friend. And she spent a lot of time and has put together a video, and I believe this one is of classmates. And it's to help us who are long out of high school get an idea of Ree's life with her friends. So when you're ready at the back there, Curtis.
Make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. Yeah, I know, when I compliment her, she won't believe me. And it's so sad to think that she don't see what I see. But every time she asks me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. Yeah. Her lips, I could kiss them all day if she'd let me. Her laugh, she hates, but I think it's so sexy. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. Oh, you know, I never ask you to change. If perfect's what you're searching for, then just stay the same. So don't even bother asking if you look okay. You know I'll say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. The way you are. The way you are. Girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. Yeah. Hey there now, where'd you go? You left me here so unexpected. You changed my life, I hope you know. 'Cause now I'm lost, so unprotected. In the blink of an eye, I never got to say goodbye. Like a shooting star, flying across the room, so fast, so far. You were gone too soon, you're part of me, and I'll never be the same here without you. You were gone too soon. You were always there, like a shining light on my darkest days. You were there to guide me. Oh, I miss you now. I wish you could see just how much your memory will always mean to me. In the blink of an eye, I never got to say goodbye. Like a shooting star, flying across the room, so fast, so far. You got too soon. You're part of me, and I'll never be the same here without you. You were gone too soon. Shine on to a better place. Shine on, we'll never be the same. Shine on, like a shooting star, flying across the room, so fast, so far. You got too soon. You're part of me, and I'll never be the same here without you. You were gone too soon. You were gone too soon. You were gone too soon. You were gone too
Shot of Miles in the bathtub. I'm not sure I can make eye contact ever again. What a beautiful life. It's one thing to see the pictures of Ree and to remember our own stories, but to hear the stories from those who are her family, who are close to her in ways that a lot of us just can't be. Yeah, there's some cousins, it's an aunt. I'm gonna hear from Linda, her mother. So we're excited to hear, and yeah, it's with open hearts that we just invite you guys up. So Jocelyn was Rihanna's aunt. We'll just invite her up first here.
There's so many memories and stories we have of Rihanna. There are too many to put down on paper, so I'll share a few with you. Rihanna loved her family very much, especially her cousins. She always took an interest in what was going on in their lives. She took great pride in being one of the oldest cousins and would offer to babysit all the time. Ree very much enjoyed being a mom to them. We remember good times out at the lake with Ree. Whenever Ree was sitting on the couch, which she did quite often, her cousins would plead with her to play around on her wheelchair. It would take a lot of coaxing, but she would eventually let them. Her cousins would also beg her to use her porta potty. Ree's own toilet, and no one else had one of these. This was because her cousins didn't want to go all the way to the outhouse in the dark. Ree wouldn't bend on that one too often, but sometimes she would. Some of the things we'll miss about Rihanna.
We'll miss her long hugs.
We'll also miss her contagious laugh.
We'll miss her conversations with us.
We'll also miss family get-togethers with her.
We'll miss shrimp eating competitions at the lake to see who can eat the most shrimp.
We always won. We'll also miss spa parties at the lake. We loved getting her hands and feet done.
And Kenna, my youngest daughter, wanted me to say that Ree always liked my pictures and she loved Ree's kisses and hugs. I'll miss playing Wii bowling with Ree. She would get so excited and almost leap out of her wheelchair when she beat me. She really liked to win. I'll miss Ree giving me the look and saying, Auntie Jossie. I'll also miss the fact that Ree always laughed at my jokes even when they weren't funny at all. She would laugh forever. You could never get her to stop. She would just keep laughing. Rihanna will be in our hearts forever and she will never be forgotten. We will always love you, Ree.
Thanks so much, girls. To call up Linda to come and share a few words with us as well about Ree's life.
Be not surprised, I'm not ready. So, I got half of it written out, the rest I'm gonna wing it. At first, thank you, Chloe, I love you. At first I didn't want to do this. I didn't think I could, that I would cry and I wouldn't be able to get through it, but it's so important for me to come and up here and let people know what and who Ree was to me and what she meant and how she affected my life and how she affected other people's lives according to me, what I saw. I'm not a public speaker. I really prefer one-on-one. I do much better with that, but I need to share. Ree, to me, she represented love, an immense wealth of love that was never ending, a love that made her glow and shine so bright that she could illuminate a room when she entered it. To me, her whole being shone, but it was her eyes that shone the most. It was, to me, to her soul. It was her soul and her spirit that shone through her eyes and reached out to people and touched them. They sparkled. Her bright blue eyes twinkled and sparkled when she looked at you. They were tender and accepting and welcoming. And they welcomed you home into her soul, into her strength, into her love that she was sharing with all the people she met and knew her. Her spirit was strong, stronger than any spirit I could ever imagine. She was a strong girl. And pure love, I believe that we come from a place of pure love and energy and light, heaven, and that we are called home, and we come here to learn lessons. Some of us come to teach and learn, but to teach, and I believe Rihanna came to teach, and she taught me many things. Lessons to make us more perfect, and to me, Rihanna was as close to perfection as anybody I will ever meet in my life. She struggled, she worked hard. It wasn't an easy life for her. And I always thought, I was glad it wasn't me having to be in a chair and struggle and work like she did. For everything she had, it was hard for her and she didn't like it. She didn't want to be in a chair, but it was meant for her to be. That was her why she was here, was to teach us acceptance and love, patience, understanding, caring. She didn't like her useless legs. I'm gonna add here, Rihanna and I, when we were in Vancouver, we actually talked about her dying, and she was okay with it, and we together were, it is okay. She is in a better place. She's happy. She has no pain. She's not in a wheelchair. And she's here with me, with us. I feel it. I know it. And she will always be. Rihanna was strength to me. Amazing strength. And people say, Linda, you're so strong. No. It was Ree that I got my strength from every day. Every hour, every minute. If I needed to be strong, I just went to her and I would hold her and cuddle and love her, and she made me strong. When she was born, she was put into my arms, and I looked at her and I said, I love you, and I've never felt such love, such powerful love, except for her sister as well. I mean, it's equal. I love them both. And so I am so blessed to have that opportunity to love so immensely and so powerfully. She touched people and supported them. I could always she always wanted to help people. She wanted to be there for them. She was always ready to give a cuddle, a hug, hold hands, reach out. She gave the best cuddles and loves and hugs ever. Like, she was perfect fit. Her energy was flowing, it was fluid, it was ebbing, it was moving, it was making connections like a spider web with everybody she met. She connected and touched with so many people. Sometimes they didn't even know it, probably most of the time, but it happened. And eventually they will see it and recognize it for what it was. But sometimes you only see it in death. I work with seniors, and as a way of protection, when they passed, I would pretend that they were gone on vacation. Really long vacation, but that I would see them someday again. I'd put up a wall so that that I wouldn't feel. And every now and then someone would penetrate that wall. And I wouldn't know it until they passed on, and then I would feel it. Boy, would I feel it. And I'd have to feel again. It always surprised me. I would feel the pain, and then I would rejoice in the love and closeness that I felt for them. I would pretend and carry on with my life, but I would be happy to have loved, to have known that I am touchable, that I really am, too, a well of wealth and love, that I, too, can share and give, that I, too, can touch people, to love them, give silently. I believe I am who I am, and I do what I do because I was meant to give comfort and to share. The gift that was given to my daughter was given to me as well, of love and strength that I drew from her has never failed me. She was my strength. I was a perfectionist before I had Rihanna, but with her, I felt I couldn't be. She wasn't perfect. And I was so afraid of failure. But I dedicated my life to my children, to my daughters, I did everything I could for them to be the best mom I could be, give her the best life I could. And then there were some people pivotal moments in my life. Connie, the piano teacher, was so patient and understanding and supportive. I taught Ree through piano frustration control. She got so frustrated. Did not like to make a mistake and did not want to be seen making one. And she and how to break problems down and start from the bottom and one step at a time, and you'll get there. And it took years of pain and sorrow to finally to come to accept Ree for who she was. And there was some people, Michelle, my beautiful best friend, who gently told me, Linda, you got to accept her for who she is. Let her be. And Tammy, carried at work, slapped me violently one night out of my denial to accept and be present for Ree. And at that night, I realized, yes, Rihanna is perfect, exactly the way she is, that she will grow to be who she wants to be and who she's supposed to be. And I'm not supposed to try to change her, because I did. I tried to fix her. I tried to change her, and that's not what she needed. And that's not that. She was perfect as Rihanna. She was the perfect Rihanna and my perfect daughter for me. And she was, now there's other people. My beautiful friend Miranda, she's been there for me and my girls, and I love her. I love my friends. I have friends, these ladies in my Bible study group who are loved Ree, and everybody has been so wonderful and supportive, and people at work, and I just, Rihanna was blessed by so many people who cared for her and loved her, and she loved them back. And her dad. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I just believe happiness is fleeting moments of happiness, and that we'll find happiness. We will be happy again, and I just work towards being content in my life and accept, and I just wanted to say, there's not much that I regret with Rihanna. There is one thing, that I never did, that I've always wanted to do and will never do, is go to Disneyland. And she was my ticket to the front of the line. Darn. Chloe, you gotta come with me. Rihanna in elementary school took violin in band, and she didn't want to do it anymore. And I didn't want her to stop, because when she got up there with every other child, she was normal. Look, everybody, she's normal, just like everybody else. And so I didn't want her to stop, and then I realized, you know what, no, you can stop. And I am not going to care what other people think. I know you're normal and perfect the way you are, and I don't need other people's acceptance and so that was a pivotal thing in my life, to let her be her and to appreciate and no, she was perfect and normal, just who she was. She just was in a chair, but that didn't make her abnormal. She was a typical teenage girl, typical emotions. I wanted to mention her dad and how, that when I had Ree and I've poured my life into my girls, I made a mistake. I did not pour the attention that I should have into my husband, and I made a mistake in it, and it's all good now. But I want people to know that don't do that. Pour into all the most important people in your life, your family, your friends. Be there for them. And Miles is such a wonderful, kind, loving, caring, wonderful father who was always there for his girls. He did everything everything that needed to be done, he did. And Paul, he was her true love. She loved him and he made her so happy. And Paul, look, Mom! I for my girls, and I really believe in teaching and about everything. I talked to my girls about everything. And I know stuff, and they talk to me, and I thought that was so important. And sharing, and knowledge is power, and it's strength, and to be open and honest. But in my open and honestness, I scar my poor youngest for life. I shock them. I think other people, if they actually heard the things I say to them, their jaws would drop. But my girls, Faith scarred, but Ree took it in stride. She would laugh, and she would just take it and go with it. So, and now one of the things that I wanted to say was, Ree and I, we battled. I wanted her to become independent and responsible, and to be the responsible, independent woman that I knew she would be and could be, and she was on her way. She was actually becoming very pleasant to be around. And I just want to say, yeah, there's just some things that for me, now with Ree, my sayings are, there's a few, but that when it rains, there was somebody very important to me said that they're told that when it rains, it's a sign that they're happy. Well, the night that Ree died, it rained. It rained a lot. So that to me gives comfort. She was happy. And it's rained today. So, and I believe that, yeah, that Ree would say, and one of the things she'd say to me, I hate you. I would say, good, I'm doing my job right. And I believe, and my last thing I'll say is like, I believe, fake it till you make it. And that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna make it. We're gonna get into a different, our lives will adjust, and it will just be different, but it will be good, and I will see Ree again, and life is good.
When I started to write this speech, I was finding it a real struggle. I kept telling myself, this is a celebration of Ree's life. Then I thought of Rihanna always asking me to recount memorable stories about her. As I wrote, Ree was sitting beside me, watching as I recalled these moments in time, stories she never tired of hearing. Though I have these memories implanted in my head, because my brain is not functioning on all cylinders right now, I have to read it. However, I'll see Ree sitting right there, and I'll see her smiles and her laughter. But I have to read it. I can't memorize it. So here I go, Ree, for one last time. I'll do my best to make it through. I'll start with when you were born. I can still see this tiny little thing laying in the children's hospital ICU. There were tubes everywhere, a ventilator and machines that were flashing, blinking, beeping. Your little legs looked like a tiny frog because they hadn't done your spinal surgery yet. But the most memorable thing for me was when you cried. Your little mouth would open, but no sound came out because of the ventilator. You look so pitiful. Fortunately, you didn't have to have it long. Remembering you in the hospital always brings to mind your mom pumping. She was so frustrated at not being able to look after you that, by golly, she'd do what she could. Pump breast milk for you. And pump she did. Every time you'd visit, she'd be pumping. The staff even asked her if she was trying to feed the entire ICU. Their fridge was filling with bottles of milk. One thing the whole family fondly recalls was when you were really little and someone would come to visit or you'd go to their house. You'd be so excited, you'd be flapping your arms at 100 miles an hour as if you wanted to fly. Your whole body would vibrate. When you were probably 2 years old, I took you to see Mr. Dressup at Vanier Hall. They didn't have wheelchair seating, and your chair was too small to see the stage anyway. They did their best by bringing out a high stool from the lab, but it was too short. So I stood on the side of the theater with you on my shoulder. You got so excited when Mr. Dressup came on stage, you squealed with delight, began flapping your arms so hard, I had a hard time holding on to you. You were shouting, "Grandma, Grandma, it's Mr. Dressup!" All the people around us were chuckling and looking because you were more excited and louder than anyone else. Every time a new character came out, you'd do the same thing. Your sense of humor showed often, but I remember when you had rod surgery for your back. I was staying with you one day and went to the washroom right off your room. You commented on the loudness of the flush. It reminded me of a ferry or a plane. Later, when I went, I said, "Well, Reed, little P, big flush." You found this so funny that whenever anyone went, we'd both say, "Well, here goes, little P, big flush," and laugh. At the same time, for whatever reason, whenever I was in your room, I'd sneeze. So I commented, "I must have a reallergy." To this day, a sneeze is my reallergy acting up. I can still see you pulling yourself across the floor. Often your pants would pull down and we'd have a bum alert. I was always telling you your bum was my favorite in the whole world, even when you got older. I can recall the first time I saw you pull yourself down the stairs head first. I was terrified, but your mom assured me this was perfectly normal. However, I never watched again. Grandpa likes to tell of how when you were little, you'd pull yourself up the stairs to his office at our house. You'd sit on his desk chair, push on the side of the desk and spin the chair. However, one day you made it spin so hard you fell out of the chair. You can still see the look on your face, followed by the words, "I'm all right." You never did spin again. Speaking of falling, it reminds me of the motel room in Kelowna. Your mom and me and Faith and you were waiting for your dad and Grandpa to arrive the next day. You were going to Easter SEAL camp for a week. That evening, your mom was on the phone while you were on the bed, which was about 18 inches from the wall. All of a sudden, there was a thud. You'd slipped off the bed. I can still hear that tiny, unseen voice between the wall and the bed. "I'm all right." Your mom dropped the phone in mid-sentence and made a superwoman leap across the room from one side to the other. You could have sold tickets. It was so funny. Two things that always remind me of you are shrimp and pate, two of your favorite foods. You'd often recall when you were eating shrimp at the time when we were at Gramps' house, your great-grandfather's house in Victoria. You were eating some shrimp in the living room and he snitched some because he was a shrimpaholic too. It became a nightly ritual. You'd have shrimp, he'd sneak some. You thought it was hilarious. Though you had a sense of humor, you also had a temper. From the time you were little, when you got mad, you'd cross your arms, sparks would practically shoot from your eyes, and you'd pout. If looks could kill, I wouldn't be standing here today. You'd or you'd grunt, "Hmm," and I'd tell you, you sounded like a wounded cow. And if you stuck your lip out any further, I'd sit on it. This often led to a twitching of the mouth as you tried not to laugh. At one of your first piano recitals, you were at the piano in your tiny wheelchair, ready to play. But your dad wasn't fast enough with the video camera or something. Everyone was waiting for you to start playing, but you were gesturing, glaring, and mouthing to your dad about taping you. It was a funniest home video moment. Gone are the days when you and I will play cards at the lake. We'd play game after game. 9 times out of 10, you'd beat me, much to your delight. I'm still a lousy Wii game player, which is appreciated by the cousins because anyone can beat me. But you were the first one I played with. I can still hear your frustrated voice when we bowled or played golf. Grandma, you have to let go of the button when you swing. You can be frustrating at times, like when we were having our annual shortbread cookie bake at my house every Christmas or shucking corn at the lake. Slow is an understatement. Ever since you were tiny and made cookies for the first time, everyone else would have their cookies cut, decorated, baked, and packed. But you'd still be decorating, one tiny sprinkle at a time. You wouldn't be rushed. They had to be just so. Or when you eagerly volunteered to help me shuck corn, and it was one leaf at a time. Never more than one. I often tried to shuck them out of sight, so you wouldn't know till they were in the pot. But you know what? I'd give anything to be frustrated again. Shucking just won't be the same. Well, that's enough reminiscing, but at least I made it through. By the way, thanks for this lovely shawl you knit me years ago. I thought it was a waste hanging on my chair in the living room. It feels like a hug from you. While I'm not quite at the sitting in the rocking chair stage, I decided not to wait till I'm older and more decrepit. I'll take it to the lake for those cool evenings on the deck. That way, we'll all miss you so very, very much. You'll be there in spirit, and I'll feel your hug.
And just on behalf of everybody else who's here, we cannot say thank you enough for sharing and just letting us into your lives, letting us hear the ups and the downs, the angries and the slows. Really, really appreciate that. We have some more slideshows or videos to watch, and we'll conclude from there.
My most favorite thing about Rihanna was giving her hugs in the morning every time she comes to school, and watching her, like, talking to her when she's in the SAT and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I like talking to her because if I tell her jokes, she will be like laughing right away.
Yeah.
Like, wow, she's really fun to talk to, hang out with.
Education assistant in the SLR program, and Bree, I help her off the bus every morning along with 2 other people, and sometimes Bree wasn't too energetic to get off the bus because she was too busy texting her boyfriend. And we would say, Bree, let's get in the school, just a minute, just a minute.
In grade 8, we were in the same art class, and nobody would really sit next to her or be with her, and I was kind of the same way. I was just all alone, so I came up to her and sat next to her, and we bonded, we became friends. It was, no matter how hard her life was, she kept smiling, and she showed me that no matter how hard or how bad a hand you've been dealt, as long as you keep a good poker face on, nobody will know how bad it was.
Her smile, her laugh,
I miss her talking, you know. It's I still sometimes I can imagine myself hearing her talk about the weather if it's all depressed and all.
Because it's raining.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Oh, the weather is so depressing," and yeah.
I think my fondest memory of her is that my son, he's going to be 2 in August, so when I came back after having him, she was the first student. We actually saw her in the summertime at the library. She was the first student we saw, and so she got to hold him, and she's such a, you could just see her light up, you know. She was a loving, caring, you know, girl, and she just snuggled him, and it was just so nice to see. And so whenever I came during my mat leave, we'd check and see if Rihanna was around, and if she was, bring him over so she could see how big he was getting and hold him. And
I think you were actually there when we had to dress up in that funny clothes and go trick-or-treating with like our bras and underwear on the outside. And we had to run down the street like that. Oh, she laughed so hard, Connie, because I was like, I raced ahead. I'm like, she's like, you were going outside. I'm like, I'm not going outside. She's like, you were going outside. I'm like, I am not going outside. She's like, you were going outside or else I'm gonna be mad. So I went outside, but I raced ahead and she grabbed on and I literally ripped her down that street. They probably didn't even see me because I was like, you're not seeing me like this.
She did grade 6 twice.
Oh, okay.
She must have loved grade 6. But anyways, yeah, so I met Ree when I first started working at Southridge, and then I had the privilege of working with her for 2 years. I soon learned that Ree had a great sense of humor.
She really does.
And yeah, and for some reason she loved me to do tongue twisters. So there were times when we would be off by ourselves, and that's when she would say, "Mrs. Dirksen, could you do that tongue twister for me? You know, the big blue baby buggy bumper one." So I would do this, and of course as you do it faster and faster, it gets just garbled up, and I was just utter nonsense coming from my mouth. And this would make Rihanna just laugh hysterically. Well, we would both actually laugh hysterically. So anyways, I had lots of fond memories of her, and I will treasure each and every one.
I knew Ray since the start of high school. I mean, we didn't really like become friends at the start, but I mean, we saw each other in classes. I mean, we saw each other because we're both sort of part of the disabled group, I guess. I don't want to say that, but we sort of ran in the same circles, and I mean, I encountered Ray a lot, and I mean, from what I knew from my interactions, she was strong, beautiful. I mean, she was a wonderful person. I mean, even though I did annoy her quite a bit with my constant chit-chat, I mean, she was willing to talk. I mean, she was willing to listen. I mean, that means a lot to me. And I mean, her friendship did mean a lot to me. I mean,
I have a couple of memories of her. I remember back in grade 7, she was actually quite the comedian back then. Everyone would sit around her and she'd tell us funny stories about when she went horseback riding, or when it was really funny. Her and Chloe are actually one of the funniest teen comedians I've ever seen. So.
Okay, well, I work in the LA room with Ree, and I've been there for 3 years, so I met her. What I like and what I remember about her is her great smile, her laughter, her messy binder. Tried to organize her binder, that was just about impossible. I remember her laugh was contagious. So I remember the history of her past as she shared it with us, and her present as she told us about going down to Vancouver. A little bit about the boyfriend that she was seeing. She shared that with us, and also her texting. She texted constantly, and I think probably she was texting to Vancouver. Yeah, so her past, her present, and unfortunately not enough of her future.
Well, at lunchtime, she would come in to have her lunch, but while she was in there, she would be so involved with the kids. It was honestly like having another staff member in there, and we probably should have had her on the payroll because she, the amount of time she helped us with, just prompting kids and helping kids go through their lunchtime routine, and yeah, I mean, she was great to have around.
So I first got to know Ree when she came from grade 7 into the grade 8 program in learning assistance. And she was very determined at that point to gain her independence. She had a lot of support in elementary, and I think she wanted to just fit in and be one of the kids. Yeah. She worked very hard to gain that independence. She wrote some notes. We have our LA kids set goals at the beginning every year. And one year I was just looking back in her file, and several things that she wrote one year, and I think it was going into grade 10, and that was a difficult year, very academic. And she said, I would like to, she said, I'm going to work as hard as I can and do the best that I can. And another thing she wrote, she said that she would like to be creative and unique with her projects and have fun with them. Nice. And the third thing she said is that she was going, I think this carries through in that theme of independence, is she wanted to make a mental note of where her classrooms were and pay attention to what was close by so that she wouldn't get lost.
And I'm the high school counselor, one of them at the school, and I've been working with Ree ever since, before she started at our school in grade 8. And one of the stories I remember the most was when Ree was in grade 7. I met her up at Southridge, but we wanted to have her come here to our school to get used to being in our facility. And we had a large meeting. There was a youth care worker from Southridge, and there was the principal from Southridge, and our principal, and the special needs teacher, and her parents, and myself, and there was all these adults around the table, and Ree. Ree ran the meeting.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
She knew what she wanted, what she needed, what had to be in place, and she was going to ensure that it happened. And at one point, her poor mother, Linda, went to try and say something, and Ree turned around and says, I've got this, kind of thing.
I've known Ree since she came into our school in grade 8. I'm a learning assistance teacher at College Heights Secondary, and I've known her and supported her for several years. I've had the opportunity to watch her grow and develop over the high school years, and she's a pretty special young girl to me. I'll remember her for many things, but her determination comes to mind first. She wanted to be independent, as difficult as that was for her. And she had a fantastic sense of humor, and I'll remember her for her love of everything that's purple and pink. And most of all, I'll remember her smile. It could light up any room. I read an article several years ago about students in general, and it talked about students that could be compared to dandelions or to orchids. And a dandelion can survive anywhere. And most students in the school system will be considered dandelions. They're survivors. They can go into any classroom, any setting. They don't need a whole lot of support, and they just sort of pop up everywhere. An orchid is a special little plant, and it requires more support and a lot of care. But when you have an orchid in bloom, there's nothing more beautiful, and to me, Ree's an orchid.
Ree has spent an hour a week with me for the last 10 years of my life, teaching me that someone with a disability is someone that you can admire for all that they do, someone who maintains a level of innocence through some of the toughest years, someone who has to work 40 times harder for everyday tasks that we all take for granted, and really they do them without complaint. She taught me that although things are hard, that there are blessings to be found in every special needs child. She's feisty, to be sure. Mom and Dad are sitting here thinking, what? Ree feisty? But it's that feistiness that has made her passionate about everything that she did. She listened intently. She was compassionate without boundaries. She was caring beyond words and loved unconditionally. you know, as a teacher, you expect to be the one who teaches your kids, and it's incredible to say goodbye to Ree, knowing that she is the one who taught me. And that is something that I will take with me for the rest of my life.
We're ready. This is a good one. Good stop.
Fire thy cannon.
Oh, the
Snow in August. Huh?
Why was there a piece of toilet paper?
Very good question. I do not know. And we've both got more dandruff now. Yay! My legs aren't as good, but my arms are jacked.
Keep going. Dariana, if you want to hold on to something, hold up really high. But it's best if you just let go. Okay. How high do you want to go? You want to go higher? No. No? Hard to hear you. Okay. We're gonna go now, okay? 3, 2, 1.
Okay, here's a joke that my dad told my preschool class.
Alright.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Horse.
Horse poo!
I was thinking there were so many beautiful things, and then they slung her that high up in the air. Fantastic. Now, we all have so many memories, and we've all experienced Bree in different places and in different ways. And we wanted to give you guys a moment of silence. And for those who pray, is to keep praying for the family and keep praying just that they feel His love, that they feel some comfort through this. If you're not a praying person, is just to think on some memories of Ree. Think about the time that you had with her, and just to remember to be thankful for that time that you had with her, that you were lucky enough to meet her and to get to know her. So we'll just take a minute or so to to be silent and to think. If we were to do an open mic, I think we would be here for days. And I'm pretty sure we'd all die from this heat. You know, there was so much, and her personality was so deep and so broad and so vast. And there's so much to share, and there's so much that we want to say to the family in this time. We are so sorry for your loss. We're here for you guys. Faith, we love you. Squeak like a girl. That's what I do, because I'm a man. You know, the best way for us to share our condolences and our thoughts is not just to blurt them out in front of them or to flood them with phone calls, goodness knows, unplug them or throw them away, but is to write them down. It's to take the time to write down those memories that we have with Rihanna, we have with the family, and to say, we're sorry for your loss and those kinds of things. And so we're not going to do an open mic here, and we have put out paper in the lobby. If you're able to stick around for the luncheon after, there's food downstairs, and it's a time for us to keep sharing, to keep working through this together. But really take the time. If you need to run before you go, write something down. They're going to make a book out of these, and it's something for them to look at in a year, in a month, tomorrow. And it's something that's going to be with them forever. As we go from here, just want to remember that in lieu of flowers, that guests are just welcome to make a donation to the Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Association of BC. Those forms are in the back and downstairs that we can take on what she was so passionate about. You guys are welcome to join us downstairs. It's going to be tight, but it's going to be good. As well, they want to do a balloon release, so we're going to write some memories and some thoughts onto some of these balloons. And at the end of the luncheon, we're going to gather together and go release those outside, just as for the symbolism. In closing, I'll read you this. The words of Jesus as he's comforted the sister of Lazarus after Lazarus had just died. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. Whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." Rihanna's passing is a harsh reminder of the fragility of life. We are not built to last. I hope that it's also a reminder of just to cherish the time that you have with those who are around you. Whether they are sitting beside you, whether it's somebody far, far away from here, but whoever is in your mind and in your heart, that these are the people. This is the only shot we've got with them to make these memories. We need to use the time that we are given wisely. It is too easy to waste, and it is too quickly gone. That's what brings us together. Let me pray. Lord God, we do not know why, but in this time we just pray that each of us would live with purpose as Ree did, that we would take each day with the value that it has, and we would cherish those who are close to us while they are here with us. Lord, we just ask the relationships that are broken, that we would make the time to mend, Lord, and let you work there. Help us to take up the passion that Ree had so that those who suffer can be comforted and given the help they need, given the attention they need. Lord, as we go from here, help us to grieve. Lord, as we feel loss, help us to work through that. Jesus, just that we would look to you when we know that we cannot look to ourselves. Just pray these things in your name, Lord. Amen. Again, I am honored that the family chose me to do this. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody's coming out. We hope that you're able to come downstairs and share and take in the lunch and just be a part of the rest of the service today. Thanks so much. We'll kind of just dismiss you guys from the front back.